Hi, Chris from Benzinga. We're here live, VeCon 2022 with Avery Akinetti, the president of Vayner NFT. Avery, why is an event like VeCon 2022 so important for the NFT space?
VeCon 2022 is our first year ever doing VeCon. We're here in beautiful Minneapolis, Minnesota, and this has been an incredible coalescence of everyone who matters in Gary's world, but beyond that, everyone who has been helping us build things in the VeFriends community and in the Web3 community. I think this is the first ever NFT ticketed conference anywhere near this scale. The way that the sort of conference tickets work is any person who is a holder of Series 1 VeFriends automatically received access to this conference, and they will for the next 2 years too. The team designed a custom app. We have an incredible lineup of speakers, both Web3 creators, collectors, voices in the space, press, mainstream celebrities, all coming together under this one big roof to enjoy and celebrate all of the incredible things that have been built in the past year with VeFriends and within the Web3 community.
So you mentioned, the large number of celebrities, artists, founders here. There's multiple panels going on, at a time. Any panels you want to highlight that maybe you moderated or that you've been able to enjoy, that you really think stood out at VeCon?
Well, I was really fortunate to kick off the day yesterday, day one of VeCon, with Spike Lee, who's a legend, a filmmaking legend, a cultural icon, and is so beloved by so many people. So that was one that was really fun. I think Mila Kunis and her partner Lisa just did an incredible job sharing a little bit of insights on how they think about storytelling and filmmaking in this new world of Web3. And of course, Gary's been bringing down the house. He's moderated a couple folks. His talk with Guy Oseary and his talk with Pharrell were both two of my favorites.
So before Vayner Media, you came from Google with YouTube, DoubleClick. Walk us through a little bit of the Web 2 to Web 3 development that's going on right now.
Yeah, I was really fortunate to be at Google in a time of tremendous technological transformation as more people were getting access to information that was made available online, and Google was actually helping billions of people get access to this information. That's their mission, is to organize the world's information and make it useful for everyone. And, I had an amazing several years working at Google across these different platforms and projects, and I was so excited about the progress of technological development at that point. I then actually spent a couple of years at Vayner Media helping our partners, mostly enterprises, understand how to build their brands on social media. And then when we started to get our fingers on the pulse of Web3, Gary started to feel a little something in the air, we decided to jump right in, and I felt very honored to be a part of this transition for our company within the VaynerX family, working closely with Gary to help bring his vision for Web3, which is manifested with VeFriends and also manifested with this sort of ethos, community first, building for the long term, and innovating in this world of Web3 in advance of sort of the mass adoption that we expect to happen. So I guess my journey from Web 2 to Web 3 has been pretty seamless, and it's all started with understanding how this will be a transformative thing for consumers.
So Vayner NFT has helped onboard companies like Pepsi, Budweiser into the NFT space. Why is it important for companies to partner with Vayner instead of just trying to do it alone on their own?
We're fortunate to have worked with so many incredible companies in this space. In the past year, we've probably done 25 different drops and way more strategies than that. And I think when companies start to think about how they can have their journey into the world of Web3, working with a partner who's actually been hands-on with this and been building this ecosystem is incredibly important. These are unnavigated waters, uncharted territories, and working with a group of strategic consultants who actually have done this before, put on events like this, I think is a tremendous value add that in fact saves a lot of these companies money and time and energy in the long run if they get their strategy right first. We spend a lot of time educating and developing strategies that are designed for the long term. I think a lot of brands and a lot of enterprises want to do something to make money quickly, and while that's certainly something that the last 18 months has sort of fed the expectation that that's going to be a reality, the reality is for a lot of these partners, they need to be thinking about their brand not in the next 30 days, but in the next 30 years, and understanding how Web3 can be an enabler for their consumers and a way to get closer with their consumers, reward loyalty, reward positive behavior, is such the better opportunity. So I think partners come to us because we've actually done this before, and we're actively building in this space and thinking about it really for the long term. And we're putting our money where our mouth is. Here we are, here today talking about this.
One of the things we've heard a lot about here at VeCon is diversification in the NFT space. How can a company like Vayner NFT help continue that diversification with female-led projects in the NFT space?
Yeah, well, I mean, look at me for one. And we make a very specific effort at Vayner NFT and across VeFriends and VaynerX to hire with a diverse and inclusive mindset. So if you look at our team, we really make a specific effort to include underrepresented communities in our staff so that that helps us think better and be the change that we want to see in this industry. So that's step one, is really inclusive hiring and being intentional. Step two is actually empowering female, non-binary, and underrepresented creators through different things, through things like collaborations that we can bridge together between our partners and those artists, through helping our partners like who run technology marketplaces, have them highlight these creators, and just being intentional in creating spaces for there to be these spotlights. Just this morning, we hosted a breakfast for 30 incredible female and non-binary creators with the objective of helping them get to know each other and creating a community for themselves. That was a perfect example of some of the small things that we do in addition to the big sort of macro focus coming from Gary on highlighting creators of diversity.
So again, we're here, Avery Akineni, the president of Vayner NFT, on behalf of Benzinga. Thank you for taking time here at VeCon to talk to everyone watching.
Thank you so much.
Chris here from Benzinga. We're here with Keith Grossman, President Time. Keith, thanks for joining us. Can you just share a little bit how you got started in the NFT sector?
Sure. So it was 2020, and I don't know about you, but I was lonely, right? And I'm living upstate with my wife, our daughter, and our dog at my mother-in-law's house, right? And I started to realize, like, wow, like my digital identity was just as important as my physical identity, and I was spending a lot of time online. And at the same time, I started to see these NFTs emerge, and what I saw more than the JPEG was a way of verifying ownership on the internet. And as people started to buy these things, I started to see that they were going into communities, and they were sort of forming around this shared ownership, right? And it was all in my head. It didn't sort of click, right? But what started to form was this idea that if your digital identity is just as important as your physical identity, then digital assets, in essence, are just as important as your physical assets to you, right? If you value the two the same. And so it was swirling around nonstop until about February of 2021, when our owner, Mark Benioff, sent a note and said, "Did you see this about the Nyan Cat sale?" And I looked at the note and I was just like, wow, like we could do this, right? And the question was like, do what? And it was like, do you understand why a cat with the body of a Pop-Tart farting a rainbow, right, like went for a few $100,000, and people who understood sort of what that meme meant to a certain community understood that. And that in my mind was like the moment where I was like, there's something happening. I didn't know how to think about sort of the timepieces which came out of that. That took time. But in early March of 2021, we announced that Time was going to enter into the NFT space with one-of-one NFTs, that we would accept cryptocurrency for digital subscriptions, right, which you can do today still. We do, at the time was 32, now it's 33 because we accept ApeCoin at time.com/hodl. And then the third was really, it would take us 6 months. From 6 months from March, we'd figure out how to use the token and a blockchain to ultimately change the relationship that the consumer had with our brand. And that then, I didn't know how to do it at that point, but that was sort of the basis of me sitting in a lot of clubhouse rooms, listening to this community talking about the changing relationship of consumers and brands, the changing relationship of artists and collectors, the changing relationship of economics. And that's ultimately what led to Timepieces.
So you've been in the media space for a while. You worked for Wired, Bloomberg, now Time. So you've witnessed the evolution of Web 1 to Web 2, now to Web 3. In your opinion, has the move from Web 2 to Web 3 been tougher than the move of Web 1 to Web 2?
No. I mean, like, one thing to remember is in any instance, like if you ask somebody if they like change, everyone says they love change until the change happens to them, right? Or if they're not aware of how the change is going to take place. And so, like I remember when I was at Wired, right? Like Chris Anderson, who was the editor-in-chief, wrote an article after the dot-com bust, and the article said that digital advertising would exceed analog advertising by a certain point in the coming years. And the sheer visceral, the sheer sort of hatred that was like sent at him over this was crazy. Crypto, Web3, digital, these are not religions or politics. These are just technologies that create more efficient ways of reaching and interacting with consumers. But I think that people sometimes get very comfortable with how they have sort of established their patterns of consumption. And in some instances, they don't want to believe that new patterns can emerge. And so it's the same sort of resistance, but just different sort of evolutions of that resistance.
So in the Timepieces brand, we also saw some Ukraine relief efforts. Why was that so important to Time and within the Timepieces evolution?
Sure, so the Ukraine relief efforts, right, which was called Timepieces Artists for Peace, came about because we were all so inspired by what Nadia at Pussy Riot was doing, what Relief did. And, we are a values-based community, right? And we think about that a lot. And I talk about this quite a bit, where you could have communities that are based on values, and right, for Time it's inclusivity and optimism and constructive feedback and this give first mentality. And you could have communities that are based on greed, which are just let me return quick value to you in the terms of monetary rewards. I believe, and Timepieces believes, that values create value over time, right? And when we saw all the good that the space could be applied for, right, with what Nadia was doing and what Relief was doing, we just said, this stands for what we stand for as an organization. And so what we did was we said, we're going to pause for a second on everything we're doing, and we're going to focus on how can we raise as much money for humanitarian relief as possible for what's going on in Ukraine. And I emailed 70 artists on a Friday night at 8 p.m. 61 of them got back to me with a yes that they could give me an original one of one. This is people like Justin Aversano, Drift, Fuck Render, Beige, Victor Mascara. I mean, amazing artists. Kat Simard, right? John Knopf. Amazing artists. This is quite a background, right? And they got back to me, and we auctioned them off. And in 48 hours, we were able to raise about $360,000 and then distribute to humanitarian relief. And I think that was important to us. I love this. This is amazing. It's like a wave of excitement. Right?
What a background here.
This is the best background noise you could ask for. I mean, if you want to talk about passion of community, I mean, that's what you're seeing right here is what community coming to life is.
And speaking of NFT Projects community, Time has also signed some deals with Toy Boogers, Robotos, and others. Tell us a little bit about these future media deals and when we may see some animated series come from Time.
Sure. So, I mean, if you think about the traditional methods in which studio deals would be constructed, the idea would be pitched with no concept of, is there really going to be an audience, right? And as we were entering into this space, I was talking to, Ian Orifice, who's the president of Time Studios, and to Maria Perez Brown, who runs the children's division. And I was saying to them, wow, I'm seeing really powerful communities from the get-go. Communities that are positive, have the same shared values, and from day one will be there to support their founders, right? And then at the same time, I have an 8-year-old daughter. Her name's Ellie, and she would come into my office and she'd look at my screen and she'd look at something like the Robotos and she'd see, wow, I love that. And I'd say, what do you see? And she'd say, I see science, I see math. And what I realized when she said that was, I see IP that can exist outside of what is a niche ecosystem right now that can be expanded with an already established community. And so for us, what we've been doing is looking at communities that have shared values that we believe we could help develop IP with and help bring and diversify outside of what we're calling sort of the blockchain to the big screen.
So outside of Timepieces and some of the projects you've signed deals with, what other projects do you maybe own NFTs of, or you follow along with their work?
Well, I own a lot of NFTs. More than I probably should, but I own a lot of photography NFTs. I love what Gary has done with VeCon. As a matter of fact, about 3 weeks before we launched Timepieces, I texted Gary and I said, I see exactly what you did with VeCon. I actually dissected it on a spreadsheet and it's really impressive, and I'm gonna adopt a lot of it for what we're about to launch. And Gary's been incredibly supportive of Timepieces from the get-go and of me, and all he wrote back was, what did you learn? And I told him what I saw and how impressive I thought VeCon was, and from there that was sort of the influence of what we're doing. But I think that the Robotos, and I think the Deadfellaz is really interesting, but these are communities that I've been in from the very beginning as an owner, right, and as a participant. I think, and I've talked about this a lot, the cool cats I've always liked, but these are all communities that have shared values. But more than anything else, I love the individual artists, right, and I love the photography community, which has been a community that has really hit me personally, and I love to continue to support individual artists.
So again, Chris from Benzinga here with Keith Grossman, President Time. Keith, thank you so much for your time today in this wonderful backdrop of VeCon 2022.
Thank you so much.
Chris from Benzinga, we're here at VeCon 2022. We're joined by Rob Petrozzo, co-founder Rally. Rob, Rally's been known to get into assets like sports cards, sports memorabilia, and all of a sudden we're in NFTs. So tell me, why did Rally start offering fractional investments for NFTs?
I mean, it's unavoidable. You see where we are right now. If you aren't paying attention to NFTs and you think this is a fad or it's going away, you walk into a place like this at VeCon right now and you see how insane the energy is and how happy people are to just communicate and form these communities around these individual assets and projects, and you realize that it's here to stay. And I think for Rally, we've always tried to find assets that are relevant now, but we believe will be relevant in the future. And I think that there's no reason to say that NFTs as a concept will be here for a long time, but as art, as utility, as the pieces start to evolve, we want to be able to sort of get on the ground floor with our investors. So as soon as we started to realize that there were 3 or 4 projects that were getting a lot of attention, but also seeing a lot of returns, that was a trigger for us to start taking it more seriously around 8 months ago.
So tell us about some of the NFTs that Rally offers fractional investing in right now on the platform.
Yeah, so we have everything from CryptoPunks, and we were on those really early, all the way to Bored Apes and some of the blue chip projects, but we also make sure we're paying attention to the projects that live right sort of below Bored Apes, that still get the same amount of attention, have great communities, things like World of Women, Doodles, some of the ones that people see now as Twitter avatars, but at the same time have these huge communities around them. And also, as those communities have grown, the price has taken a turn way up as well. So now you have these blue chip assets that might have minted at 0.05 or 0.08 that have these massive communities, and they're trading at 4 or 5 or 6 ETH. Those are projects that we want to be a part of too.
So what NFTs are coming to Rally next? Any ones that you can share that may be offered in the future?
I mean, we're always looking in the space for really important moments, for rare assets. So we look at the projects like Clone X, and obviously more World of Women, and some of the bigger projects that now have really started to spike, but also there have been airdrops associated with it, or new community aspects that are associated with it. Those are always the projects we're looking at. But we also want to look at sort of the genesis of some of those projects too. So we can get original art or one of ones, or partner with a team that's doing something really unique in the space and sort of mint it either from scratch or do something on our own to really evoke that emotion from the community. We always look at that as well.
So you mentioned Bored Apes, several mutant apes offered on Rally. We had a claim event for ApeCoin.
Yep.
So how did Rally approach that claim of ApeCoin, and how were owners of those shares rewarded in the success of the Yuga Labs project?
Yeah, so a lot of the investors on Rally who invest in NFTs, their first NFT purchase was on Rally. So what we want to do is make it as simple as possible and treat it more like a dividend and less like a crypto claim or something that required a wallet. So what we did was we claimed all the tokens over a 24-hour period that were associated with the Bored Apes, which are around 500,000 tokens that went to Rally users, and we did it kind of pro rata based on your shares. So it was everything from like a 67-cent dividend all the way up to 5 figures, and that was something that our entire community had access to. Everybody who owned a Bored Ape or a Mutant Ape or a Kennel Club was able to sort of redeem that in cash in their balance. And now ApeCoin obviously spiked. It took a little bit of a pullback. We wanted to make sure that we were redeeming at a blended price over that 24-hour window, but get it to people as quickly as possible, so they all got cash in their account direct.
So we're here at VeCon, and Rally brought several assets along with you guys being a partner here. So normally people can view their assets on the Rally app. Talk to us a little bit about the museum and other ways where people can actually physically view the assets that they may own shares in.
Yeah, we're trying to do more of this. I think that whenever we find these audiences, these communities who really understand what it means to own and to be a part of these alternative asset communities, putting the assets on display makes it real. And it's not just the Gary Vee stuff, which we brought here, that people love, and a lot of people here were already invested in the sharing squirrel drawing that we did. We made sure everyone got a piece of the VeCon Viper that Gary put together and drew specifically for this event for Rally. But also, once you get here and you see like all the other stuff, and it's dinosaurs and it's Lamborghinis and it's really the marquee assets from Rally, it opens up a conversation where someone goes like, what else do you have? And we always want to be in those conversations with as many people from the community as possible and from other communities who really care about this stuff.
So here at VeCon 2022, we've got the Kobe Bryant last floor behind you. We've got a Lambo behind you. We have a Triceratops fossil, graded sports cards, displays of the NFTs. What assets here at VeCon are attracting the most attention from people walking around and viewing the Rally assets?
Yeah, I think we got a lot of attention with the dinosaur because the inevitable question is this real? And I think the idea of like price discovery on dinosaurs is still a little bit abstract. So people come up and there's a mix between like people thinking it's fake and it only costs like a few $100 to people thinking it costs $20 or $30 million. So like having those conversations has been really interesting around the dinosaur, which we have kind of centrally located too. And people kind of just stop and look at it for a second and then start asking questions, which has been good for us too.
An asset that we've spoke about in past interviews is some of the Apple and Steve Jobs memorabilia. You have a sealed original iPod offered on the platform. The big news last week was that Apple discontinued the iPod. How does that play into the alternative investing and fractional shares of an asset like that?
Yeah, I mean, those are things that, again, a lot of the attention is event-driven and anniversary-driven, and we saw a spike in volume on the iPod, on the secondary market that exact day, and I think that that's the type of information that a tech-empathetic, 30-something who finds themselves on Rally, that's the news that they get. That's in their group chats. That's being surfaced to them through Benzinga and through others. When that happens, it creates this attention around the space that brings new eyeballs, but also it kind of brings you back into the app and you start thinking like, all right, let me check out my asset. Let me see where that's trading right now.
So Rob, Rally's added NFTs. That was, a new asset class. What's next for Rally? How does a company like this grow? And are there any other assets that you're eyeing right now to add to the platform?
Yeah, I think we're always looking for assets that have audience and have a history of returns or really on the cusp of becoming sort of part of the zeitgeist like NFTs did. We're also looking at a lot of cash producing assets. So we started with domain names. We're moving into obviously real estate, a few other assets that had the ability to spit off cash and spit off dividends for investors who maybe want to take a more long-term look at their assets and not think about it as a trade. They want to have it in a portfolio and keep it there. And again, anytime that we find a community that exists, that's empathetic, that understands tech, that wants to be a part of sort of real equity and own the assets and the best-in-class versions, that's a space that we'll be in. So when we say like, we want everyone to be able to invest in the things they care about, we mean everything. So if there's something that makes sense, even for a 10,000 or a 20,000 or a small niche community, what would be looked at as a niche community, if there's real attention there and there's potential for returns, that's a space that we want to be in.
Chris from Benzinga, we're here with Rob Petrozzo, co-founder Rally. Rob, thanks for your time here at VeCon 2022.
Thank you always, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, it's Chris from Benzinga. We're live at VeCon 2022. We're joined by Betty from Deadfellaz.
Hello.
Betty, thanks for joining us. Wondering if first you can tell our viewers and listeners how you got started in the world of NFTs.
It was last January, and Syke, the co-founder to Deadfellaz and my husband and the artist, he was introduced to NFTs through some people in his art collective, Depthcore, and he told me about them and I was just immediately sold. So.
How did the idea for Deadfellaz come about? This great artwork, this cool community, was this a overnight thought? Was this a multiple day thing? How did you guys create it?
It's kind of a two-part question. So the reason and the idea are two separate things. So the reason was really because I loved what was happening with the PFP movement and with NFTs. The generative art really was something that interested me, but I didn't see anything that I felt like I wanted to use. There wasn't anything that represented gender on a spectrum. I just felt like there was a gap that I could see that I wanted to fill. So that's that. In terms of Deadfellaz, the idea that just came like that. Like I don't know, it just came like a fully formed idea. The designing of the traits was something that took a long time because we spent time kind of injecting ourselves into it. So the influences that we have from like 90s animation and, movies and comics and all of that.
So one of my favorite questions to always ask creators of projects, you just mentioned some of the traits. What are, your favorite traits? I know that's a hard question for some to answer, but if you could call out a couple of the traits within Deadfellaz, what are some of the top ones?
I have never seen a bowl cut that I didn't like. So I love the bowl cuts. I think the mullets are cool. I love them all. I'm biased.
So we saw a lot of celebrities get into Deadfellaz. Steve Aoki, Reese Witherspoon, Lionel Richie, Alexis Ohanian, and we even saw Odell Beckham Jr. change his profile picture on Twitter. As a creator of a project, what kind of validation is that you have a strong community and these celebrities drawn to the project?
It's crazy. It's really crazy. It's like, you spend a long parts of your life. I didn't realize what a fangirl I was in some instances before I was like, oh my gosh, the person that I love their work, like they like mine? Yeah, it's sometimes what we're doing here, because it's all digital, just doesn't feel real. And then you have these moments kind of like here where, we're in real life and I'm meeting people and everyone's experiencing things in a different way. It's kind of like that. Your world gets a lot smaller. So, yeah.
Deadfellaz signed a deal with United Talent. Can you talk a little bit about what that deal means for the growth of Deadfellaz as a brand?
Yeah, so the value that I see UTA bringing Deadfellaz, and that they already have really, is that they can facilitate the cut through with Web 2 business and brand building, where I know the vision that I have for Deadfellaz is a vast one, but I'm very much focused on building in the metaverse in parallel, so it just allows us to do both at the same time in a really effective way. And it just gets immediate cut through with not worrying about, can I reach this person or can I reach that person? It's just immediately done. So yeah, they're very professional and they really understand Web3. That was really important.
Deadfellaz recently announced that a director of project management was hired. Came from Netflix, has some media experience. Is that something that Deadfellaz is looking at, media growth?
Yes, it is. I think that it's a really important part of brand building. I think that NFTs, we have this really unique niche where it's an intersection of entertainment, media, culture, streetwear, music. There's so much to it. It's so expansive. So it's very important to us that we have people that are experts in their own field while we expand into those areas, yeah.
Betty, you doxed yourself here at VeCon.
Yeah.
Can you just talk a little bit about, that experience? Are you happy to get it out of the way? Is it cool to meet people face to face for them to see, who you really are?
Yeah, it is. I never intended to be anonymous the entire time. I wanted it. There was a few reasons why I chose to remain anonymous at the start of the project, and one of them was I really wanted to show people how you can build a personal brand around a PFP, which I think I've done quite effectively. There are a few other reasons, and there's reasons why I will still keep a little bit of a step back, and that's my children. I have a family, and the accessibility of founders in this space is quite unprecedented. So for that reason, I'll still keep a little bit of a distance, but it's so nice to meet people, and it's so important for me to be able to connect in real life.
Last question for you here. We're at VeCon. There's a ton of speakers here, a bunch of panels. Outside of meeting, the Deadfellaz community, are there any panels or any other artists you're looking forward to meeting in person or hearing what they have to say?
Yeah, I've met so many people that I really admire and love working in the same industry as. Everywhere, I'm like a fangirl of all of the people here, so it's like between interviews, yeah, definitely. The Cool Cats team is here. I haven't met them in real life. I hung out with Bobby and Ben from the Hundreds, who I'm a big fan of, and Mech, who, like, people on my own team that I have never met in real life. So that's been fun, but yeah.
Hey everyone, Chris from Benzinga. We are live VeCon 2022. I am joined by Elu and Klan from the Cool Cats team, co-founders. Guys, thanks for joining us, taking time out of VeCon to chat with Benzinga. So VeCon 2022, I mean, this huge event. We've got multiple days, multiple panels, speakers, celebrities, musicians. Elu, I'll start with you. What are your overall thoughts on VeCon, and how does it compare to some other festivals you've done?
It's tons of energy. It's interesting comparing it to NFT NYC because there's a lot of people here who were introduced to NFTs through VeFriends and through Gary Vee. So it's interesting. Whereas like NFT NYC or South by Southwest, a lot of those people are more. I think they've been in the game like longer, whereas a lot of the people here were introduced, sort of like shepherded into the community through a particular person. So there's a different energy for sure, but it's the vibes here are immaculate. Everyone's very positive. It's very like sharing, education, a lot of great networking. But it's been a very positive experience so far.
Awesome.
Yeah. What I love about VeCon compared to like New York or South by or any of these other events is that instead of everything being sprawled out and everyone's different little project doing their own event, everything is contained in the stadium. And so it just creates a whole different conversation for like, NFTs. And like
you feel like you're in a Discord server.
Yeah, it feels
this
like you're
giant
in a Discord.
stadium, everything contained. I love that. So, within that same thought of, being in this one area, you've been able to, meet some people, some other artists, some other founders, and also some people, who maybe are in the Cool Cats Discord regularly. Yeah. So, tell me about some of the people that you've met here, either from Cool Cats community or other projects.
Well, other projects, anonymously, I'm going to take it before he says it. Yeah, Betty. We love the Betty. It's a great meeting. She doxed herself here, which is really cool. So it's really she's one of the Deadfellaz is one of the projects we've really kept close to our heart because we really like their community. We share a lot of the same sort of like I think vibes as far as like just I don't know. There's a lot of authenticity and just good vibes in general. So it's really cool to connect with her on like a founder level and meet her in person.
For sure.
Probably same for you.
Well, and like we've been able to meet people from our Discord, from the Cool Cats community. Funny enough, we were actually able to meet people on the Cool Cats team that we've never met.
For the first time?
Bex
for the first
time. Bex and Merv, wherever you guys are right now. You got to hug them. That was great.
Yeah, isn't that awesome? Like in person, like people you talk to all the time online. I mean, that's part of the NFT community, part of these Discords. But a big event like this, bringing everyone together. So Klan, you had a panel on the main stage on Saturday, and one of the things you said that really resonated, I think, with myself and other people who follow this scene is a lesson you learned of not giving up. So you created the Blue Cat in 2013, and you said you had to put it down for a little bit for a professional career outside of the space, and NFTs let you come back in with Blue Cat. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I had to make this decision of, am I going to continue to try to be an artist, or am I going to make a living for myself and have a salary? Because we have bills to pay, and that's just the facts of just the real world. And so what was cool is that this guy brought me in through my graphic design to work on his project, long story short, we were like, wait, let's bring back this character I've been drawing for years, because he's known about it since like 2015 when I did the Cartoonist, and it was just wild that it was like it felt like that weekend project that you're just like doing something out of pure passion and not really caring where it goes. We were just like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if this sold out, and then we might go do something else. But what we didn't realize was like, because of that passion that we put into it, this whole community formed and created this whole like ecosystem.
It didn't inadvertently, but like we didn't realize how much that authenticity resonated with the masses, you know, with the community. Like, I think this is one of those things that's hidden in plain sight, just like how Blue Cat was looking at you the whole time until we're like, wait, this is it. Is I think the sheer like blood, sweat, and tears and elbow grease that you had channeled into your character, like Blue Cat, of pain and frustration and self-doubt and love and like all the emotions just over the years to defining like the shape and form of what makes Blue Cat Blue Cat. That's the thing that when people interact with Blue Cat for the first time, they're just like, oh, I like it, or it looks good, but they're actually interacting with something a lot more. Like, it's it's actually you.
Well, and like going back to not giving up was like, it was just like, wait, you can give up on something, but that doesn't mean it was a bad idea. You know, it just might not have worked out in that like
that
avenue,
context.
that context or whatever. So with Web3, it was like, wait, we have this great thing, this character, like this is the opportunity for it. And so it's all about like just kind of reapplying something, and like, you know, if you believe in it, go for it.
And it's also wild too, because like a lot of your cartoonist followers before Cool Cats was a lot of just like people who had cats. You know, like it wasn't. You were bound by the much more saturated audience of Instagram, which is like you're just competing with the algorithm. There's just so much content, which like how and when we hit the Web3 space, it was like there was not a lot. You know, like a lot of the projects were. Some of them were sort of scammy. Some of them were just very quick. Like the art wasn't good, you know. So
and not many artists were in the space. So like that was a big thing. It was like no artists were here to like show off what they've been working on.
Stuff that they've worked on over the years. It was already built up, and you know that's one of the things. Last time we had you on the roadmap, you talked about building the brand, and you mentioned plushies as a future item, and then a couple weeks later we got this tweet. So talk to us about plushies. And how maybe that brings people outside of the Web3 space into the Cool Cats brand.
For sure. So the future is now. The plushies are in production. We're going to be unveiling them. We'll probably unveil them before NFT NYC, maybe. But they'll definitely be touchable, tangible, buyable, claimable, winnable, if you will, NFT NYC. So yeah, we partnered with Toyketo. They're going to do, they're taking over all of our merch. They're going to have toys and games and all sorts of fun. Just things to touch with us, because to that point, like we don't want to, because we want to be accessible and inclusive. We can't just be bound to, you have to have a MetaMask wallet or a Coinbase wallet, or bound to crypto, bound to the blockchain. We need
some people just want the merch. They don't they might be priced out, but they really want to be a part of our community or whatever in some way. And merch is that
it's an obvious one for us.
And that leads into the gaming space. I just watched a panel that you did talking about gaming, and you mentioned, bringing new people into the ecosystem via the game. So the last time we spoke, Cool Pets was still getting going, and you of course told our audience, you said it's coming.
It's coming.
And it did, and you delivered. So now that it's out there, both of you tell us what Cool Pets, what Cooltopia means, and finally getting to that finish line in this first wave.
Well, it's more of a checkpoint, less of a finish line. But Cooltopia V1 is out, which is great. It's an interactive, gamified experience for people to hatch their pets. We got 4 different elements, but we really want, because accessibility is such a big component for us. And because you need a pet to interact with Cooltopia, we don't want that to be our business model, where you have to have some high value price point thing to touch the brand, to interact with us. So Cooltopia V1.5, V2, just the future of what we're building. Whether you're a cat holder or not, we're going to be making some sort of gamified interactive experience, so anyone can get it. We don't need that. You must be this high to ride the ride gate to our ecosystem.
And like with Cooltopia, yes, it's a game, but at the same time, it's our universe.
Yeah.
Like we are building the universe of where Cool Cats live, where all of these other characters that we're going to introduce over time, that's where they live.
Yeah.
And they all have backstories. There's like a reason why you might like one over the other.
Web3 is so new, so it's this continual, just like, although we put out a roadmap, like internally, there's other subcomponents that are also evolving through all this. So one, I think, big differentiator that separates traditional pre-existing gaming or brands is the Web3 component is this like dynamic, interactive, community influence thing. So the way to think about Cooltopia is not bound by like, it's this web game or it's this, roadmap or it's this brand. Like, it's this multi-layered, faceted, it has to do with collections, it has to do with the tangibility of plushies on shelves, it has to do with playing the game online, it has to do with like our metaverse game. So like that's Cooltopia. Like we're building Cooltopia that it's more than just like you go to the website and you play the game. So that's a way to think about it.
And now that the cool pets are all out, we talked a little bit about traits when you were on. We also talked about the 4 elements. And of course, we led to a Pokemon discussion. So, I mean, Clown, I'm going to have to hear who's your starter Pokemon?
Oh, yeah. So I'm Air Gang. Shout out to all the Air Gang out there. And it's funny, I was always hunting for specifically 2 traits. And luckily, one of them was on sale recently. And I wanted the Halo and I wanted the Rainbow Sash. And like, it's just funny, like, I know all the traits beforehand. I'm like, yep, those are the 2 I want together, and like, I finally
and you
got
found it.
Yeah.
What was your starter Pokemon?
Yeah, who was your starter Pokemon?
Oh, sorry, starter Pokemon.
No, you're good. No, that's great.
When I was a kid, Squirtle was my, go-to, hence why I love the squad glasses and everything. But
is that what you said too with Squirtle?
I don't know. Did I say that previously?
I feel like you said Squirtle or Charmander. I feel like we had a discussion on how no one picks Bulbasaur.
But as I got older, I realized
Bulbasaur because of the evolution.
Is the best. Venusaur is hands down the best
but
starter.
on the low level.
I'm talking cute. Like that, I got Squirtle.
See, I was Charmander at the start. But
I was never Charmander. Blastoise was always coolest final form. But when I got older, something clicked and I became a Bulbasaur boy. So
it makes sense.
I don't know.
I get like Mega Drain with Solar Beam. Like, how do you die?
I mean, come on.
So how about you? Now that Cool Pets are out, what are some of your favorite traits that you've seen?
Oh man. I do like my Fire Boy a lot. As far as traits go, the chef hat, and especially paired with the little oven belly. I mean, like, come on, that's just like lethal combination. But as far as the water traits go, I'm a sucker for like the pets with the pets. So like the holding the little rubber ducky, and I saw a triple threat combo the other day. There's a water pet holding the rubber ducky with the frog on his head. That's me. Right?
There you go.
Yeah.
So we have this new roadmap out. You talked a little bit about how there's that stuff out publicly. You've got some internal stuff too. I don't know if you want to drop any alpha or get anything out there, but like, what are you most excited about over the next 3-6 months that's coming for Cool Cats?
Well, initially off the rip, NFT NYC, which is end of next month end of June, 21st to 23rd. It's gonna be really sick. This is gonna be like the biggest event that we have put time, effort, energy, and an activation and experience into. So
it's like we keep talking about Cooltopia, and if you want to go experience
in person,
this will be a good IRL touch point. So that's really cool. We're going to be doing another collection before the year's end, so that's as much as I'll say about it.
It's on the roadmap.
It's on the roadmap. I feel like that's a good amount of things.
NYC really is a big one. Like that and merch, like all coming together is one thing.
And there's also there's always partnerships and collaborations like in the works, but those are the types of things that we never want to spill those beans until like the ink is dried and it's all done. So when we talk about the roadmap, it's just the things that like we're just 100% responsible for. So there's other things in the works that are off the roadmap that they're going to unveil over time as well. But,
definitely.
We like the cats.
We love the cats. So Clown, Blue Cat, this great character, and my kids, right? And we love the kids.
We love the kids.
They love Blue Cat. And one of the questions they asked me, because we're hearing some of these NFT brands get into media and, you know, talk about animated shows. Is Blue Cat, are we going to get there? Are we going to get a cartoon, an animated show, a movie? How does that evolution to the media side go for Cool Cats?
Well, it's always been my childhood dream to have a cartoon show, so you could definitely predict that there's going to be one down the line. Yeah,
It's baked in.
it's baked in. Yeah, it's going to happen.
And that's what this is sort of a defining word that we came up with internally recently that we're now externally saying is that Cool Cats is a transmedia IP company. So we started in NFTs on the blockchain, but we want our onion of, you know, Cool Cats is at the core, but our touch points of interactive Web3 media, Cooltopia, an animated series, a movie, games, collectibles, like if it makes sense, we want that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. Love it. We're here, VeCon 2022, Elu Clan for Cool Cats. We like the cats,
We like
guys.
those cats.
Thanks for taking time,
Yes,
you know,
sir.
to sit down with us and share that news with Benzinga.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. Until next time.
Hey, it's Chris from Benzinga. We're live here, VeCon 2022, and I'm here with Frankie Nines from SupDucks. Frankie, sup?
Sup.
All right, so we had you on the roadmap a while back. We talked about SupDucks, and since then, you've been a busy guy. We got Mega Toads, we got Whack Ducks. So tell us a little bit about how those two projects have evolved the community and the brand of SupDucks.
Sure, yeah. I mean, you know, the last time I spoke with you guys, I was just getting ready to release Megatoads. And what was crazy about Megatoads was it was the first UGC experiment where people could create their own NFT by literally like burning and sacrificing, you know, king frogs. And so what was really interesting there from, you know, taking everything that we build as like a learning experience of like how understanding the users, understanding their collecting habits, understanding their investment habits, like understanding how to build value and emotional connections to things that like when we made Megatoads, you know, like seeing the community spend time to craft them and fall in love with them and then figuring out what was the next step with them, right? And we had already had like that full loop of you create a toad and the reason why is because your duck is going to lick it, it's going to change the state of your duck, right? And so that was the last thing that we just released, and seeing people do it and seeing how people respond to it and the tech art pipeline that we built. You know, there's 1,000 toads, there's 10,000 ducks, there's 100,000 capabilities, possibilities. So, you know, not only doing a big art chunk pipeline and production pipeline, but building the experience for the people to really interact and see, you know, can we make it so that you can play with your NFTs? How can you interact with them on chain? Like how can you know, change something about them, upgrade them, or, you know, do different things with them? And so really, I mean, that's been kind of like the focus is like, how do we push what people think is utility for how you interact with the content that you essentially own? And so no, it's been really good. The outcome so far, it's been really fun to see people's responses and see how people actually like really dig it. And then, you know, the next step is like, all right, now what do you do with that whack duck, with that wacky duck? You know, like, well, now it's, well, they're super psychedelic, they're enlightened. So now we got to take them they're on the path of enlightenment. Now they got to have some kind of reward mechanism, right? Because, you know, from an entry point standpoint of the entire ecosystem, for you to have like a whack duck and a toad, you had to do a lot of stuff. You had to have a duck, then you had to have frogs, then you had to feed your frogs, and then you had to make a toad, and then you had to, you know, so like the user path of investment, and just not like money investment, but their investment in how much time they've spent inside the ecosystem. Now the final piece is what is the big reward, right? And so building something that then now it's like, yo, you went and did all of this, here you go, boom, like here's the payoff.
So Frankie, we just got a new roadmap from SupDucks, and there's a lot in there, right? So I mean, I don't want to go through the whole thing. I invite everyone, to check out that Medium article that you put out with that drawing of the roadmap. But what is it that maybe you're most excited about with the roadmap that's coming up for SupDucks?
Yeah, so obviously we've been working primarily on like our media brand, right? Which is a big, I think, for me, looking at how to build a really great brand where it's like, this is my Mickey Mouse, this is my Bart Simpson, right? Like, how can I build value in IP that can expand after Web3, right? And then understanding what is going to be the evolution of Web3. So some of the things that I put into the roadmap are not only like some of the games and some of the more of the interoperable like experiences, but like I want to start experimenting with AI. I want to start experimenting with more user-generated content, and letting people create personalities for their ducks, letting people, hooking up like dictionaries to your ducks so they talk and they interact with each other, and like letting them come to life. And some of the things on the roadmap are experiments into that. Obviously, upgrading some of the tokenomics, so vaults and things like that, just massaging what we have, because we've tried so much and we've built so much that now is the time to like really just make it all better and better and better.
I see on the roadmap, of course, Megaverse, and that's something that, drew my attention. I'm excited about. Tell us a little bit more about the Megaverse.
Yeah, well, so I think there's a big opportunity for, obviously, the Metaverse concept, right? And the big opportunity there is all just the interoperability, right? Like that's really the big selling point is I can use different characters from different projects and different IP to play games with my friends, right? And they can be an ape, I can be a SupDuck, whatever, right? What I'm trying to build is more of an invest express model and a casual play model that isn't so game heavy specific, where you can pop in for 5 minutes, you can pop in for 10 minutes. Because as you know, anybody that's in the space, we're glued to OpenSea and we're glued to crypto blogs. Like, how much time are we actually spending playing a lot of like heavy games? Like, I haven't picked up a controller and played a game like for a while, just because I'm so invested in not only working, but I'm just invested on staying up to date with how fast the industry moves. And so what I'm looking at is building like an interoperable casual play system that focuses on 2D assets. Because I love 2D, don't get me wrong. Like, I think 3D is great. We have VX SupDucks dropping for Sandbox that you can use in other 3D platforms, but I want to build tooling that anyone that has a 2D project can come in and build the puppet systems and the animation systems and things like that. And so you can play retro style games and interact with them online and with your friends or whatever. And then looking at like, what does play to earn actually mean? Is play to earn just the actions of like doing actions and earning tokens because someone paid that, or is play to earn DeFi mechanics inside the tokenomic system? So experimenting with how can you make DeFi fun and visual.
Love it. So we've recently seen, kind of this evolution of the SupDucks brand cartoon and animated series.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about that. We're seeing a lot of projects go that way. What does SupDucks have, in store in terms of animated series and media down the road?
Yeah. So we've been working on a cartoon. Really talented Justin. He's one of our guys on our stream. He's a voice actor, OG in the cartoon space. It was the Bully and Hey Arnold. He's done a lot of stuff on various cartoons. So working with him and his network to actually make a real cartoon. And there's a lot of projects that are looking at making cartoons. I think with the style of art, there's a really big opportunity. One of the things that I think we have and what we bring to the table is all the team that's working on it, the support from Mila's team and the gimmicks and looking at my goal is to be one of the first NFT project cartoons that's on a real network. And like being based in LA, having a pilot inked, all sound designed with professional voice actors, and then sitting in front of the big networks and being like, we have something really great. We have a strong community, we have a great art style, and we have a fantastic story, and like that's, I think, boils down to it is making a cartoon it's my first time, and it is a lot harder than it is to build a game or even launch an NFT project. Like, the story's got to be good, right? And so I think that's one of the leverages that we have is the story. The story's written really well. So I think we'll see it. I think I'm fingers crossed, but I think we'll be one of the first ones where it's like, we actually made it on a major network.
I'm excited about that. I'm excited to see SupDucks, as a media brand and as an animated series. So Snoop Dogg, who's here at VeCon, he's going to be speaking on Sunday. He put out a death row NFT track about SupDucks. What does that mean, as a creator, to see someone like Snoop Dogg write a song about your brand?
Yeah, so I've done a lot of work with Snoop. I've been working with Snoop since 2014, 13. I actually did the artwork for his first drop on crypto.com. I have a really tight relationship with his team. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty surreal. I literally get a phone call. It's Snoop, and he's like, "Yo, sup, duck?" he's like, "Yo, we're gonna drop a track." And then the next thing I know, there's an entire track with him talking about, SupDucks. And what was crazy about it is the way that he was dropping music, he was actually staying true to the ethos of NFTs, where if you own it, you can go remix it. You can use the instrumental, you can do whatever. And the song that he delivered to us in that 4-minute track was probably, 45 seconds of his actual wordage, but the rest was a beat. So we took it, remixed it, and added on top of it. So for how powerful this type of content is and what we were able to actually put as a use case to, I bought this NFT with Snoop Dogg feature on it, and I can make it my own song, boom, So really, really cool, really exciting. It was the entire team was so stoked.
That's awesome. So Frankie, last question for you. We talk a lot about community with NFT projects. So one of the things you said in a recent post was that you're going to keep on supping with the community. What does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, we have a pretty crazy culture with our community. Everybody just says sup, right? We took a slang word and turned it into an entire culture piece.
Hey everyone, Chris from Benzinga. We're here with Eric, founder of Art Blocks. Eric, thanks for taking time out here at VeCon and joining us. You've been to a lot of NFT events, throughout the history of this space. How does VeCon compare to other events you've been to?
VeCon sets a new bar. I kind of had an idea what to expect just from the fact that we have speaker packets and they, picked us up from the airport. I'd never been to baggage claim and had someone standing there holding my name up, and I feel as someone that goes through the circuit and travels to all of these conferences, often you feel kind of like cattle being pushed around as a speaker, and this felt very different to the point where I kind of want to start actually maybe being a little bit more selective and say, look, if you're going to treat your speakers well, I don't want to be paid to speak. You can send that money to charity as far as I'm concerned, but traveling is hard. We're away from our families, and this just feels different. It just feels way more significant. So I'm just really proud to be a part of it too.
So VeCon 2022, multiple day event. There's multiple stages going on. You're speaking. Are there any panels you're excited, to attend? Other artists you're looking forward to connecting with while you're here?
Oh man, I mean, all my friends are here. It's crazy getting to listen to everyone from Tom Sachs to get to represent. I mean, Tom Sachs sat on stage right next to Fuocious, and just that juxtaposition of art was insane. One of our lead investors and a really close mentor and friend, Derek Schloss, is speaking today. And in between, builders like Nate Alex and Richard and just so many people that have had such an important role in the development of the space. Plus, then there's the celebrities. I've been watching, Mila Kunis for years, and Kevin Smith was on stage, and just being in the same stadium as those people is just a really special thing.
So, want to turn to Art Blocks a minute. We had you on the roadmap. We talked about the project, the Squiggles, different things. So, since we last spoke, you did a Infinite Objects partnership, the first 100 Squigglements. Tell us a little bit about that and what it means for Art Blocks overall.
Well, oh man, that's deep. So starting with the fact that I've had the luxury or the pleasure to work with Adam Lindemann and Venus Over Manhattan Gallery, who has really kind of not only embraced generative art and art blocks and kind of the NFT space, but like specifically been a mentor to me in terms of how to navigate the art world. He and I did a drop of 300 Chromie Squiggles and ended up being 310. He encouraged me to kind of, get more out there. I've been, kind of feeling this weird burden of them still being unminted. And we minted 300 of them. 100 of them were exhibited in New York just a couple days ago at his gallery. The first 100 that were minted on Infinite Objects frames. Infinite Objects has been incredible to work with and support. They've created these beautiful installations of the Squiggles. The second 100, an identical copy of this installation, but with the second 100 Squiggles, is on its way to Art Basel in Switzerland. It's going to be at the Design Miami Fair in Basel. And then the last 110 are going to Design Miami in Miami during Miami Design Week or Miami Art Week. So really excited to get to work with Adam and his incredible team at Venus Over Manhattan, and then the people at Infinite Objects who have been nothing but just like support and wonderful in this process.
So Artblocks is a top 10 project all-time sales volume. It's considered a leader in the generative art space. Tell us what it means to be considered a leader in in the space, and where is generative art headed right now?
Well, my goal right now is that generative art is headed in the direction where you can drop the word generative and you can just call it art. And what that means is that we, as a team, and I personally have, kind of taken this initiative that, kind of like the way surfing and skateboarding was added to the Olympics because there was a bunch of people that were just really passionate about that sport. I want to elevate generative art and the awesome artists that we get to work with, and just all of the artists in the space, whether we get to work them or not, into the kind of the mainstream of art, like to be respected as artists, not crypto artists or NFT artists or generative artists even, but just as artists. And so Artblocks is dedicating a ton of effort and resources to just educate, teach, and communicate everything from like the process of the birth of the generative edition to what happens afterwards and like the community and the conversations that happen post-mint. And we're having a good amount of success. My favorite thing to do right now is to talk to a hater, someone that thinks that NFTs are a medium, not a technology, and educate people and that NFTs are a technology. They're a technology that enable this medium of generative art to really flourish in a way that I couldn't before.
Tell us about some recent drops that Artblocks has done, some collabs with these artists. What projects are you excited for within Artblocks? Other artists are the ones you've minted recently, yourself?
Well, I mint all of them. Still, it's like something really important to me that I get to participate in every single drop. I think that's a vote of confidence in what we're doing. And if I don't want to mint it, then it shouldn't be on Artblocks, right? I'm particularly interested lately in projects as curation has become so much more difficult to achieve, and so projects have gotten way more technical and way more sophisticated. Continue raising the bar, both in the curated and the non-curated section of the site, right? So Artblocks has really elevated its standards and what we have on the platform. We do love the idea of inclusivity and including everybody, but we really also want to respect and value the incredible art that's been launched on our platform. And to do that, we just want to maintain the highest level of quality with the highest level of artists. And I think just the last few weeks have been a really great reflection of just an elevated level of art.
You've touched on it a little bit with some of these answers, but what's next for Artblocks? Where is Artblocks headed? Anything you can share for some future drops, future roadmap down the road?
We have so much. I mean, it's starting to look like end of third quarter, you're going to see Artblocks V2, almost like an entire reconceptualization of the platform. We're working on the next edition of our smart contract, which will be more optimized and gas efficient. We're working on a completely new charter for curation and transparency within curation, plus some internal stuff that will start to, not a token, but we'll start to reward people that participate in our community in a lot of different ways. One of my favorite initiatives that we have that we're trying to work towards is, for example, one of our team members came up with this concept that on the Artblocks website, we will start creating a badge for individual NFTs that have been exhibited, because we're seeing Artblocks pieces exhibited all over the world in all sorts of things, NFT-focused fairs and traditional art world fairs, like in the most elite levels. And I think something that's really beautiful about this space is that, we ask the collectors who wants to show their piece at these exhibitions. They offer their pieces, and there is actually a joy in having your piece shown at an exhibition. So we want to reward people with that, and it's not like a huge reward, but it's like, hey, those pieces of art are now going to have a little stamp on them that says, hey, this was at Design Miami, New York, or Design Miami, Basel, and just little things like that are going to kind of come together to really start to say thank you to the people that are participating in our stuff.
Awesome. So the NFT market, still relatively new to a lot of people. You've been in it, probably longer than a lot of people, right? CryptoPunks, which got your start into Artblocks. We're seeing the market, go through some changes right now. What are your thoughts and advice for people out there that are seeing, the market change, the market evolve right now?
Focus. Why are you here? If you're here because you love the art, and you're here because you're intrigued and curious about like new mediums and new communities and new ways of like coming together and understanding each other and understanding art, then you are going to be in a really good spot. Because what's happening in the market is completely irrelevant to that. If you're here for direct speculation and flipping and stuff like that, well, then you should be conscientious of what you're doing. You should be understanding that you're participating in markets, not necessarily art. And we don't hate on that, but we definitely have this sincere focus of elevating generative art to a new standard in the art world. And it feels as though every time the market kind of falls apart a little bit, it shakes a little bit of the speculation out, leaving behind some of the people that really actually genuinely care about the art, the artists, and the community that we built.
Awesome. Again, we've got Eric from Artblocks. We're here live. VeCon 2022 here for Benzinga. Eric, thank you so much for taking time and joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Hey guys, Chris from Benzinga. We're here with Sean from PixelVault. Sean, it's great to talk to you again. First off, congratulations. PixelVault just passed the 1-year anniversary. Tell us a little bit about some of the lessons you've learned along the way in that 1-year period.
Yeah, I mean, when you're in a space that moves this fast, definitely a takeaway is strong beliefs held loosely, right? We're looking to build something that's here to last for the long haul. And so, we want to constantly be listening to the community, be reacting to the market, exploring new opportunities, right? PixelVault has always stood for trying to be on the very cutting edge of things, and that's constantly changing. So, just taking it one step at a time, not trying to get too far ahead of ourselves.
So over the last 365 days, what would you say that you're most proud of to accomplish within the PixelVault ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, really, for me, what I'm most proud of is our team. We were sort of 3 strangers on the internet at the outset. At the turn of the year, we were 11, and now we're over 50 strong. I think that that's probably PixelVault's biggest differentiator today, is that we really have every role we could imagine, and the best of the best from not only Web3, we've hired directly from our own community, which has been awesome. I think with the fluctuations in the market, you need people that really believe in our core values, and by hiring from our community, it's helped us to, I think, keep that core ethos that we want to have.
So people got physical Punks comics shipped to them. And, we've seen people send them off to get graded. I mean, in the same likes of, Batman, Spider-Man, Superman. What does that mean as a creator to see, the work that you've accomplished, people getting it graded as a physical collectible along with the digital side?
Yeah, it's amazing. I think one of the things that makes it even more special is the fact that people had to make so many decisions with that NFT before they ultimately collected the physical comic. So there were only about 3,200 in circulation, and it was no small feat getting them to all of these people across the globe in perfect shape. So we've had a bunch of 9.8 grades come in, and it's just really special being a lifelong collector myself. It just hits a bit differently when you see it there in the nice CGC grading.
Pixel Vault building out this IP, and we've heard, for a long time, getting into gaming. So we've got this Meta Hero AAA title coming. What is it about the gaming space that you're most excited about for Pixel Vault?
Well, for us, gaming is an opportunity to just continue telling stories. The entire business is around creating stories alongside our community, and games are an incredibly immersive way to tell those stories. So we want to tie the NFT collectibles with fun gaming experiences. At the end of the day, you hear all this talk about P2E gaming, and people like the idea of making money while playing games. But if it's not fun, really, what's the point? I think in the long haul, we have to focus on creating fun, immersive experiences. And so on the Pixel Vault team, we're building out a blockchain gaming sort of vertical. So we have 17 people on staff now building that out, working with an amazing external studio for our AAA efforts. And really, it's just all about creating sort of like an immersive experience to get into our stories. And so finding fun ways to do that.
So in the 1-year anniversary post that you put out, you mentioned dropping some alpha here at VeCon. So we're here at VeCon, and you spoke on the main stage, and we saw this video played with Dana White, president of the UFC. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with Dana White and what's next in the Pixel Vault Sports vertical.
Yeah. So much like our partnership with Adidas last year, it was always about trying to find these sort of legacy businesses that just have like rabid fans and that are so tied to the culture. And I think UFC certainly fits the bill for that. But more so people that truly want to be builders here for the long term. And his son Aiden and his nephew Will actually be joining our team to help bring this to life. And some people have questioned like, oh, you're getting into sports now? Well, for me, as a kid, athletes were always my superheroes. And so getting an opportunity to tell a very compelling story in a very tried and true vertical that just people love, right? What better path to telling stories than athletics and competition? And so with Dana White, the UFC, Aiden, Will, etc., we're going to be building out sort of like a story tied to the origins of mixed martial arts and very sort of similar principles to what we've done with Punk's Comic and Meta Hero, leaning on story, wanting to have fun interactions native to the blockchain, staking, burning, etc. Fun game theory mechanics, ways for people to interact with one another. But again, it's about telling the stories of these athletes. So something we're really excited about.
So speaking of sports, we also have some talk of Major League Baseball. Tell us a little bit more about what that could mean for Pixel Vault.
Yeah, so again, someone from our community, Kenny Gersh, who's in business development for Major League Baseball, he wants to make baseball fun, right? And what's more fun than Web3? Tying people that love baseball back to the sport, getting to know more about athletes that they love. Like your allegiances to your professional sports teams run deep, often many generations. And so right now, we're sponsors. You can see us in Behind Home Plate. We were featured on the Apple TV Game of the Week yesterday. We're going to be sponsoring the Defensive Play of the Day, the Pixel Vault Lockdown Defensive Play of the Day. And then we're working towards a longer term opportunity to tell the stories of athletes. And right now, we're actually working with some individual Major League players to be announced soon. But they're going to have the opportunity to tell their stories through our existing franchises of Punks and Meta Hero. So it's not something we'll sell. They'll just be fun airdrops to our community and an opportunity to tell sort of fun sports stories in superhero form.
So we have Punk's comic, issue number 3 coming, the last in that original series. And we heard that holders of all 3 are getting a Punk's PFP. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so up until now, we've been selling the comics, but that's been holding us back a bit because we want to be able to release content more frequently. And so instead, when you become a citizen of Origin City, when you have this digital identity tied to the Punk's comic brand, which still most people know us by, given the work we've done with Adidas and just dating back to that original storytelling NFT of Punk's comic. Once you get the PFP from having collected the first 3, we're going to airdrop the comics as we move forward It'll give you the ability to interact in our blockchain games in the AAA environment that we're working to build out with this partner. And so it's sort of more like joining a community, a membership. We believe that digital identity is going to be so tremendously important as we move forward over time. People want to feel like they belong to something, and IP has been something that has tied people together. You know, Star Trek, Star Wars, people's favorite franchises are something that bond people. And so we think the PFP will allow people to display that proudly when so far they've only had the story to really tie them to Punk's comic.
Speaking of IP and, Star Trek, Star Wars media, we do have a deal signed with Blur Studios. Tell us a little bit more about Blur Studios, who they are, what they've done, and what led you to decide to work with them.
Yeah, they were far and away our top choice for a partner to work with on MetaHero. From the work they did on Deadpool, reimagining what a superhero was with that sort of dark, snarky humor. We like the influence that could have on what MetaHero can be. Also, Love, Death, and Robots, which season 3 dropped yesterday. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but anybody that hasn't, I highly recommend it. Specifically, in these new digital environments, I think short form content is going to reign supreme, and the opportunity to tell stories based on the same canon, but through the lens of all these different creators. So if you watch Love, Death, and Robots, episode to episode, there's a different creative vision. And we think that's going to be a really amazing opportunity to work with not only sort of Hollywood talent, but existing sort of Web3 artists to tell MetaHero-based stories in a fun and constantly changing manner.
This is Chris again from Benzinga, live here with Sean, aka G-Funk from Pixel Vault. Sean, thanks so much for taking time and sharing with Benzinga viewers and readers the Pixel Vault vision going forward.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Let's go.
So you said in your keynote that the biggest return on investment at VeCon is the relationships you make. Is that what VeCon's all about?
That and education, right? Relationships and education, no question, are the two frameworks that I focus on for this event.
Awesome. So you went from VeFriends Series 1 to VeFriends Series 2. What are some of the lessons you learned along the way from Series 1 to Series 2?
I wouldn't call it lessons. I would call it being more comfortable with the technology, right? Launching Series 1, I'm like, you turn on, whereas with Series 2, I had a lot more confidence that I had the reps and understood what we were doing. It's less about lessons. It's more about how I think about the market, what's going on with the consumer, also my strategy. So when I drew Series 1, I knew that provenance mattered, a word that we used to talk about in NFT land that never gets brought up now. I wanted it to be mine. I wanted to establish it. I thought it would be important in this 50-year project that I drew it, not commissioned an artist. But I also knew that I was trying to do video games and board games and cartoons and backpacks and candy. And so my sketches were not going to be the art for that. So I thought it was super important that I came out with a Series 2 pretty quickly after Series 1. So I knew that would happen even before Series 1 came out. And so Series 2, the strategy was, let's establish the IP. What is Empathy Elephant going to look like? What is Entrepreneurial Elf going to look like? There's probably 800,000 lessons I learned. They're all micro. How to handle a Discord, what to do on Twitter, what to be prepared for if this is down, but nothing that sits on the hardcore answer. It wasn't a lessons game. I'm in always getting lessons, but more focused on consumer stuff than I think too many people are like, I learned this, I'm going to do this, but that might not fit what the market is at this moment. I mean, if I didn't look at VeFriends Series 2, if I waited another month, I would have had to have a totally different launch because of where the market conditions went. I'm much more ready that way. I think of myself more as the kind of head coach of a football team that makes adjustments at halftime to what happened in the first half to win the game, more so than being obsessed the week ahead of like, this is gonna work. Because the reality is once the game's played, you had a lot of good ideas. Now you're down 17-0 at halftime. What are you gonna do?
So Series 1 holders got the opportunity to come to VeCon. Are there any opportunities for Series 2 holders for VeCon next year to get access?
No. Series 1's contract is VeCon 2022, 2023, 2024. Series 2 utility was the trading cards that they'll be getting shortly. The more interesting question is what, if anything, is going to happen in 2025?
So the last time we spoke, you said that 98% of NFTs could go to zero long term, and you echoed that in your keynote speech. Just give us your thoughts on that. Is that still the belief?
Yes, it's called supply and demand. You know, it's just the way it's going to be. There's going to be too much supply and not enough demand. There's not enough good operators who can actually get people to fall in love with their characters or provide value and utility for their NFTs. And this is what happens in business. This is life. This is the way it is, you know, just the way it is. And what was important for me saying that when everyone was in nirvana, I mean, I got a lot of pushback from the community when I was going through last summer and fall and winter and saying 95, 97, 98, 99. Why are you doing this, Gary? You're supposed to be the champions of NFTs. I'm like, me saying 98% going to zero is being the champion. A lot of people in my community were protected from this recorrection. You know, I'm proud of that. I also needed to put my head on my pillow. If I'm sitting out here beating the drum that this is all nirvana and everyone's going to get rich quick and it's super easy, when this last month happened, I would really struggle with walking around Earth. I need to walk around with pride and happiness. And so I'm really happy I did that. I'm really happy I did that.
You recently invested in the Big Three, 3-on-3 basketball league, Ice Cube. Several people joined, Snoop Dogg, Kevin Rose, a Solana project, a Dogecoin investor. What was it that drew you into Big Three? Was it the new NFT relationship that they built? Is it, you know, diversifying, or that ultimate sports ownership that you've craved for so long?
Yes, it was the fact that they were innovating with NFT ownership. A lot of it had to do with Jeff and Cube, you know, the guys and gals behind the Big Three, Lisa Leslie, like the people involved. You know, I like doing business. I grew up in a family business. I like turning my employees into family. I'm about that life. So, you know, as somebody who grew up loving Cube, anytime you come across people you admired growing up, I always thought it was a creative superpower. If you think about where Ice Cube's career, I mean, Ice Cube, the gangster rapper, fuck the police, to making movies in Hollywood about being the cuddly dad, that is tremendous range creatively. I think he doesn't get enough credit for that. Same with Snoop, by the way. You think about who they are. They're like your favorite uncle and grandfather now, started as gangster rappers. That is tremendous range creatively. Very underrated for both those guys of what they actually do. Very entrepreneurial. And let's not forget, the Big Three is a fairly successful sports league. Most sports leagues fail in the first year or never get off the ground. And then yes, of course, much like my esports ownership, with my partnership with the Wilfs who own the Vikings, much like what I'm doing in pickleball, you know, I'm very quickly up to owning 3 teams now. You know, one is the majority owner, and 2 in pickleball, and 2 in minority ownerships. The way that Big Three did is you own 40% of the team if you buy all those tokens, but you don't get the operating profit. You just get it in transaction. It was another unique way. I love basketball. I think the league is really strong. I think the league can get bigger and better. I think I can help contribute to that. So it was all of the above.
Along with VeeFriends, what other NFT projects, collections are you holding, or do you follow along the way and you're excited about for their future growth?
Creature World, because I think Danny Cole's a real artist. World of Women, because I think it kind of has solidified itself as the kind of alpha project in the all-female creative space. Xcopy, as an individual artist, I think has real potential to be the Banksy and the Andy Warhol of this space. Small artists like Jack NFT, who I used as a collaborator in Series 2 with the glitch, similar to Xcopy. Mumbat, who's speaking here, very big fan of her stuff. Think she's got real potential. I mean, God, there's a lot. Tom Sachs, I think, is one that I'm thinking about buying into. Again, I bought during the height of the market, but he's an outrageously successful contemporary artist who's like little sculptures and big sculptures sell for a lot of money. I think his is very interesting. I got to spend some more time. You know, I've been in a 6-month hiatus planning for Series 2 and for VeCon. Like, probably the thing I'm most excited about this weekend ending is me getting back into like getting my strategy brains around projects in the space, because I've been very insular, which I'm always uncomfortable when I'm insular. I always like when I'm tasting on the outside. Moonbirds, I think Kevin Rose looks the most like me in the space, a true operator, has too much to lose for it to fail, has real skills, has done this before. So there's a lot of projects I'm excited about.
Last question, 2022 Jets record prediction.
8-9. I think the schedule fucked us. I think we could have been better, but the first 10 games pisses me off. My great dream, as I sit here right now with you, is that I get to be back at this beautiful stadium on December 2nd, because the Jets play the Vikings. But I won't come because it's a busy time of year for me if it's not a meaningful game for the Jets. If I can just get to December 2nd, this would be a remarkable season.
Let's go.